As your students begin to embark on the investigation and they have the questions for Skim C in front of them, one of the things that you might want to consider helping them as they start to plot and investigate and inquire is to develop some graphic organizers that allow students to consolidate the information in one place. This first chart is actually the summarizing, contextualizing, inferring and monitoring questions section that you use with a single source. I like to use 11 by 17 or butcher paper and put it on the wall. Often we'll put, if possible, we'll kind of stick the source in this middle section here, or we will write something like source A, letter, or source B, image, and then we'd label the other sources. But sometimes it's really nice to stick the source in here if possible. This kind of structure was based on Riley's work that was in the Teaching History. And what students then do is, once the source is placed in there in a brief description, go to summarizing and write any summarizing details around this section as you go. Contextualizing information is written within this section as the students go. Inferring, what does the source suggest? And then your monitoring questions go here. Always remember that you must start by having the question up on top so you recognize what the investigation is about. For example, what was life like for a child during the Great Depression? It's meant to be recursive, so we have this arrow that works out. However, you may have a student going, I'm not sure if I'm contextualizing or inferring now, miss. Well, give them a big hug. Well, maybe not, but the fact that they're talking about contextualizing and inferring is a step in the right direction. Sometimes this can feel a little cluttered, this structure. Another way to have a graphic organizer and set it up similar. Historical question to be explored, write your question up here. The source ID, what is the source you're referring to in this one? Summarize, contextualize, infer, monitor, and your students can write each section and answer the questions in this area as they investigate the source. They will use one sheet per source. A final one that kind of just does the same thing but might make it a little bit more simpler. Put your question up here again. This is the Skim process for analyzing sources. Source description, describe the source. Then you can summarize, contextualize, do your inferring and your monitoring, answering the questions as you go. So what this allows you to do is it gives you a chance to really kind of flesh out each individual source, and imagine then that you have sheets of individual students working on individual sources and their analysis around the room, or one student working on multiple sources and he's got each of these different sheets of paper with individual sources. At that stage, he then is ready to move into the corroboration phase, where he now starts to look at all these sheets of paper and starts to ask, what are the similarities and differences between the sources? Can I explain why there are similarities and differences between the sources? What are sort of some of the conclusions that I am now drawing with regard to the question at hand? So what was life like for a child in the Great Depression? What am I now finding out from each of these multiple sources? I'm now relying on the evidence to answer the question. But do I have any additional information needed? Do I have any gaps that need to fill out my account or flesh out my account? Because I know a little bit about something and I haven't found that yet. Or, I'm still not sure about the language use. So this is where you start still recognizing that it could be an ongoing inquiry. This becomes, in a sense, the student's pre-write. It starts to lay out exactly how the evidence that they can start pulling from to construct their historical narrative.